We are honoring our oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. It's a very sad thing that he does not know right from wrong. I believe that he has been involved in a criminal cover-up. Everybody in the country should be totally appalled by what the president said last night. Should be totally appalled. But he has a habit of making appalling statements. This one borders on so totally unethical that he doesn't even realize it.
There you got the Speaker of the House talking about the president, who the night before had said there was nothing wrong with accepting dirt from Russia or a foreign government, but then she just said he's been involved in a criminal cover-up. Is that the case? Let's bring in Mark Levin, host of Levin TV on Blaze TV and the host of Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox News Channel, the author of #1 bestseller, On Freedom of the Press. Mark Levin, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations on the success of the book.
Yeah. How many weeks now? #1?
Well, who's counting? I think 3.
Yeah, we're counting for you. How's that? So Nancy Pelosi goes off on the president yesterday. Do you agree with the president said to George Stephanopoulos in the Oval Office?
Okay, hold on a second. Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi for once in our lives here, that she's never confronted. Nancy Pelosi just said the president of the United States is guilty of a criminal cover-up. That's what they do in fascistic regimes, where a Speaker of the House stands up and accuses people of crimes. If we didn't have a Constitution and these Democrats that run these committees were in charge, it'd be like the French committees during the French Revolution, where they'd be declaring people guilty with the guillotine right next to them and lopping their heads off. You know, there is a time when Congress is out of control, and this is one of them. We've seen this throughout our history. These subpoenas are outrageous. They're intended to destroy people. They are unconstitutional. Everybody who receives these unconstitutional subpoenas should be fighting them. They are victims. So I don't mind talking about what the president said. We endlessly talk about what the president says. When he sneezes, when he blows his nose, when he brushes his hair, when he gets up in the morning, it's Trump, Trump, Trump. Isn't he a dictator? Isn't he horrible? Can you believe what he said? Let's put the brakes on it. Nancy Pelosi is fascistic. She just declared the president of the United States a criminal. Based on what? No due process, no court case, no indictment. She stands up there and she announced the president of the United States a criminal. Nadler announces the president of the United States is a criminal. These are the worst kinds of demagogues who are representing the mob, their base. They've taken over the House of Representatives for their own political purposes.
Mark, how quickly they forget. In October of 2017, this was the headline of the Washington Post. Clinton campaign, DNC, paid for research that led to Russia dossier. And then Brian Fallon said to the Washington Post that same month, he was the ex-Clinton staffer, he said, the first I learned of Christopher Steele or saw any dossier was after the election. But if I had handed it last fall, I would have had no problem passing it along and urging reporters to look into it. Opposition research happens on every campaign. And here you had probably the most shadowy guy ever running for president, and the FBI certainly has seen fit to look into it. I probably would have volunteered to go to Europe myself to try and verify if it would have helped get more of this out there before the election. Your thoughts?
Well, these people are liars and they're hypocrites. Of course, look at that. He would have done he would have done that dirty work in 2 seconds. And the fact of the matter is Hillary Clinton and the DNC did it. Tell me, why doesn't George Stephanopoulos sit down with Nancy Pelosi and say, Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC laundered money in order to buy false information from the Russians to use against the President of the United States, which was used by the Obama administration at the top levels of the FBI and the intelligence committees and our corrupt FISA court system. Tell me, Nancy Pelosi, do you agree with that? I mean, that's a fact. It's not a hypothetical. The President of the United States has never taken information from foreign governments. He's never used it as opposition research. So for the past 2 days, we're dealing with a pseudo-event. It's not news. It never happened. Just because Democrat Clintonoid George Stephanopoulos sets up the president with a question like that, now we're going to discuss it all week. And Nancy Pelosi, true to form, well, maybe this should be one of the issues that we look at in terms of our investigation. The House and the Senate have a responsibility. It's legislative. These endless oversight hearings, which are intended to destroy a president and win a re-election, they're unconstitutional. And their fascistic conduct and their fascistic statements need to be called on the carpet. This is our country. This is our Constitution. And when she stands there and says, we're there to represent the people and we're here to defend the Constitution, no, she's not. Not in the least.
Well, but Mark, there is somebody who might agree with you and unfreedom of the press and the premise behind it, and it is might be Ronan Farrow. He was quoted after picking up an award saying, some people in the media are honest and others, at the same time, see people who have lied to protect power. When you go write your book and just talk about how the press seems to have picked a side, is that what you've discovered?
Well, I've discovered that and a lot more, which is this. The media in this country are destroying freedom of the press. We don't even need studies to tell us. We have our own eyes. We have our own ears. Day in and day out. Are they reporting news? Are they giving information to the American people that are helpful to their lives so they can make decisions about their families, their communities, about their government? No. It's an endless attack, and it's propaganda, and it's day in and day out. Russia collusion for 2.5 years. Did anybody get fired as a result of that? No. Any of these executives like Zucker pushing this? He got a promotion from AT&T. They're doing an enormous disservice to this country. The purpose of a free press is to serve the American people. Like this Acosta. He goes in the middle of a press conference. He tries to monopolize it. He disrupts it. And now he's running around like he's the savior of the First Amendment. He's a self-promoter. That's what he is. These are pseudo-events surrounded by propaganda. It's the worst lightweights that you could ever see in the media today. You accepted, of course. Me accepted, of course.
Thank you.
But I'm talking about these newsrooms. There's no diversity in most of these newsrooms. None.
All right. His big bestseller is called Unfreedom of the Press. He's not positive it's been on the New York Times bestseller list for 3 weeks, but we are. Mark Levin, thank you very much for joining us somewhere in your bunker.
Thanks,
Mark.
We'll watch you this weekend.